Hey guys, happy new year. Here are 3 hairstyles which you can do on yourself. I use the amazing Loreal Steampod 3.0, which has been an absolute game changer for me. I did just upload this New Year's makeup look. If you haven't seen that, feel free to go back and watch that first. So I'm starting off with damp hair and I'm going in with the steam activated milk, which is smoothing and repairing, and then the steam activated serum on the lengths and mid lengths of my hair. These do also act as a heat protectant and they smell absolutely like glorious. I can't even explain how good they smell. They made me have so much confidence, like, you know, when you're walking around and you're just like, oh my god, everyone please smell my hair, like feel my hair. That's what these products did for me. I don't know if they work just as well without the steam pod. I haven't tried them, but I'm sure they're just as good without the steam pod, with a regular straightener or just with your regular hair care routine. So now I'm going to go through and brush my hair because it gets super tangled, but I will say these products also worked as a really good detangler and just made it really easy to brush out my crazy wavy hair. So now I'm just going to go and rough dry my hair. I'm going to tip my head upside down so that I can get a lot of volume in the roots while drying. I dried it on a medium heat because I didn't really feel like it needed direct heat, and plus we were going to go in with the steam pod anyway to smooth out any crazy bits. I know, it's beautiful. And now this is where the magic begins. We are going to take our steam pod, we are going to remove the tank, which is where the distilled water sits. You want to use distilled water, not mineral water, not tap water, distilled water, because we don't want to get any lime scale trapped in our steam pod. So I'm going to switch it on. I use it at 180, especially when curling hair, because you don't need to go in with a really high heat when curling hair. You're going to be moving it much slower down the hair shaft. You don't want to damage your hair more than you need to. And then I'm going to split my hair into two. So literally bottom section and top section. The steam pod is quite thick, which means that it speeds up your straightening / curling time so much. Like, I was amazed. I have a fair amount of hair, but this just really did it for me. So I started off by pressing down the iron on my roots because I got a couple of kinks in my roots, and then I'm just going to twist it halfway. I wanted to keep the length, so I didn't want to curl the roots. I just kind of wanted a little bit of curl at the end, and then I'm just going to twist them to set them in place. So there you can see the steam coming out of the steam pod. The steam pod is 78% less damaging for your hair than a regular hair straightener, and that is because the steam penetrates through the hair, keeping your hair like less frizzy and a lot more smooth. It doesn't have like direct hot plates sitting against your hair. The other amazing thing about having steam to straighten or curl your hair is that if you are like me and when it gets humid, like as soon as I straighten my hair, next day it will go back to being frizzy or back to being wavy, whereas with the steam pod I notice my hair will stay straighter for much longer. Throughout until I have my hair washing day, it will continue to stay smooth and to stay in shape. The other amazing thing about the L'Oreal Steam Pod is that there's a little comb inside which glides through your hair as you straighten it, and that just helps it get every single kink and every single tangle out your hair. However, I do recommend that you brush your hair thoroughly before going through with the straightener, because you don't want the straightener to get caught somewhere in your hair and you just feel like you're tugging at it. So that's what makes it really good to straighten or shape stubborn hair. So compared to the Steam Pod 2.0, this has the tank inbuilt inside the straightener, whereas the Steam Pod 2 had the tank outside the straightener, which means that this is a lot easier to travel with, and it's also a little bit less of a hassle because you can just fill up the tank straight into the straightener. The other thing is, this is a lot thinner than the previous Steam Pod, which means that it is easier to get to the root of your hair. So if you struggle with frizzy roots directly in the root, this is much more likely to catch it for you than the Steam Pod 2 will, because with there being a little bit more thickness on the straightener, the plates weren't getting as close to the root. Also, with the Steam Pod 3, I noticed that you can get a little bit more of a tighter curl than the Steam Pod 2, and I do think that's purely because of, again, the thickness of it. For the top section of my hair, I am over directing it a little bit as I'm curling it, and that is to give it more of like a blow dried appearance, just to give it a little bit more bounce and more volume in the root area. And then for the front sections, I'm actually over directing the hair forward and curling it backwards. Again, that is to change the direction of the hair, give it a lot more volume at the front, and that's what's going to give you more of that glamorous appearance. So now that we're done with waving our hair, I'm just going to move it around a little bit, decide how I want it to sit, and then you can finish it off with just some hairspray, some light hold hairspray and some shine spray. Those two are my favorite combinations. The light hold hairspray will just make sure that it's still movable, you can still run your fingers through it, and the shine spray will kind of break down a little bit of the harshness of the hairspray, and it will just continue to keep it soft throughout the day. And here I am trying out a middle parting, very quickly regretting it, and then deciding to go back to a side parting because that's just me. Anyway, let's move on to our second look. So we're gonna go for a braided mohawk. I've seen this look a lot on like red carpets, or just a lot in like the Hollywood life. So we're gonna take a middle part, and then we're going to take even sections from both sides of that part, and I'm just going to clip the rest of my hair aside. So first I actually did this on one side, and then I did it on the other, and just to make sure that they're both balanced, I do lift my hair up because this is a lot easier to see how balanced it is against our face. You can use the corners of your eyebrows as a guide and use a pintail comb directly up just as a guide to where your part wants to sit. You can take a thinner section or a thicker section, but this is just the width that I wanted to go for. So here I'm going to put it forward because you need to make sure that the back of that section is also straight, and then you're going to clip the back aside as well, because you don't want to start picking up that hair when you start braiding into it. So I'm just going to flip my hair back, and we're going to start braiding from the front. I did a French braid, but you can do a Dutch braid because Dutch braids look beautiful as well. If you do struggle to do a French braid, you can do a fake French braid, which is 2 strands of hair and you twist them together, but you continue to keep adding hair into those 2 sections because you want it to be flat against the scalp, and you want to make sure that you're doing it quite tight against the head as well. For volume, we will lift it up a bit later. Once we get to the back of the head, we're just going to take 2 bobby pins, and we're going to crisscross those pins to keep it secure. And then we're just going to remove all the clips that we use to section the hair out. I'm going to take the tail of my pintail comb, and I'm going to start pulling the braid gently forward, and that's just to add a little bit more volume on top. Now to jazz this look up a little bit, we're going to take these hair accessory rings. I bought these on eBay and they were so cheap. I think I literally typed in hair accessory rings. And we've seen Ariana Grande do this hairstyle. We've seen Nicole Scherzinger make this hairstyle famous. So what I do is I separate them gently, and then I just ring them around each section of the braid, trying to make sure that I space them out as evenly as possible and keeping them in the center. If I do need to replace them, I just keep the clasp open and I take them out to readjust them, and then I just bend them back and hide the open end of the rings inside the braid. Add more volume around the hair, I'm just going to take my teasing comb, I'm going to lift up a section and I'm going to over direct it. Over directing the hair while teasing it just really helps the tease sit in the root much better. It will stay up much better. And then I take my teasing smoothing brush and I'm going to smooth just slightly the tops of the tease. I'm then going to take this tiny brush which looks like a toothbrush and I'm going to smooth the root area. Anything at the front which I feel like is still looking a little bit wild, we're just going to tame that with that tiny brush. And then I'm going to go back to adjusting my hair a little bit, and that is look 2. For the third look, we were actually going to turn this into a ponytail, but before that I wanted to see how it would look with half up, half down. So the great thing about this braid is that you can literally do so much with it. You can try so many different ways of wearing it. I like to leave the front pieces loose and recurl them, and I'm just going to take the side pieces but leave my ears covered. back, and I'm going to smooth out the hair and just tie it in a ponytail. I'm also going to take a little bit of hair and wrap it around the ponytail to hide the band. And now for the ponytail. I mean, everyone knows how to do a ponytail, but I'm going to leave the front bits of my hair still loose, and I want to recurl them because I like the way that they frame my face. I'm putting this ponytail quite high so that we can have a little bit more added volume, and then I do take my back combing brush and just kind of tease the root of the ponytail a little bit. So I am actually doing the curly girl method right now, which is why I'm using a scrunchie and not a tie hairband to prevent it from snapping off. And that is our 3 New Year hairstyles complete. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you have the most amazing New Year's and 2021. Don't forget to subscribe and find me on Instagram at makeupbyaj, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!